Assalamualaikum and hello to our lecturer, Madam Farhana binti Abdul Karim and fellow friends. Today, we will present our essay on topic COVID-19 has worsened gender inequality. But before we start our presentation, I would like to introduce our group members. Our group consists of 3 members, and that is myself, Najwa Nazura binti Ahmad Rashid, Nur Nabila binti Mat Saad, and Siti Nurmaisara binti Abdul Qadir. Okay, so without wasting any more times, let's start with our presentation. Every girl and every boy possesses equal experience of a lifetime. Gender discrimination, which begin in early childhood, continue to children of their childhood memories and limit, constrain their time and opportunity, disproportionately impacting girls from around the entire universe. A girl is more likely to restrict her right, expelled from getting an education, compelled to marry, and exposed to harassment. For example, her voice is disregarded if heard at all. Therefore, gender equality must be emphasized so that every gender is treated equally. Gender inequality is defined as unfairness gender-based that results in one sex or gender being consistently favored over another. It is fundamental human right that able to fulfill this right and give them the best chance of attempting to address the most challenging problems at this time, such as the economic downturn, a lack of healthcare, and gender discrimination. The United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which was launched in 2015, is widely praised as a significant step forward for gender equality and women's rights. The 5th Sustainable Development Goals (SDG) is gender equality. One of its targets is to achieve gender equality and empowerment of women and girls. Today, as people can see more clearly that COVID-19 transmissions influence gender equality as COVID-19 continued damage life and livelihoods around the world. Society can already observe that the epidemic and economic fallout are giving a negative influence on gender equality. Gender inequality refers to the gap between people based on their gender. Women do not have the same rights, opportunities, or benefits as men as a result of the social construct. The difference in gender inequality can be seen in many aspects even before COVID-19, and the gap is significantly bigger now that COVID-19 has struck the rest of the world. Because of the various forms of gender inequity that occur, the workplace has been labeled as an unwelcoming atmosphere for women. Thus, COVID-19 has worsened gender inequality because it has burdened women with unpaid care, caused a surge in the number of domestic violence cases, and affected occupational gender segregation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Nurmaisara. I will present the first point, that is burdening women with unpaid care. We agree that COVID-19 has worsened gender inequality. This is because it has put unpaid care on the shoulders of women. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, the nation can see that the burden of unpaid care and domestic work has grown as quarantine measures keep people at home and the closures of all sectors. This has indirectly to devote more time at home and to child care. Rewards 2017 state that despite the fact that unpaid home care varies depending on development, social disparities, conflict and other factors, it is consistently devalued and exploited. This is due to lifelong inequalities in social standing, job prospect, income and the difference in power between men and women.
For example, they have two heavier responsibilities than men. When the pandemic hits the country, they have to do two jobs at the same time, namely working from home while managing the household. The men who working at home also have to take care of children. This is because their wives are the frontliner. This unpaid home care actually varies according to the context. Therefore, the division of labour will also differ according to social, cultural gaps and the other factors. According to Beckman and Rose 2021, the evidence suggests that working mothers have carried on more of the resulting family obligation and seem to be more often limiting their hour shifts or deciding to leave their job at the end. The impact of pandemic COVID-19 restriction, women and girls are likely to be spending more time caring for and providing educational support for children. As societies rebuild their economic growth, the crisis would also provide a chance to completely acknowledge, diminish and relocate household chores.
The epidemic gives them a chance to develop diversely and more crucially smarter. In short, it is important to ensure that all women have much place at the same table when it comes to implementing COVID-19 rehabilitation efforts and preventive measures, and so that women's and girls' voices and preferences can be heard. Next, I will pass to the next presenter.
I am Nur Nabila and I will be presenting the second main idea. The next reason to prove that COVID-19 has worsened gender inequality is because of the increasing number of cases of domestic violence. Based on several studies, domestic violence is becoming more widely reported around the world, prompting international groups to urge local government to consider women's rights and protections during this pandemic. The World Health Organization noted that the statistics on domestic violence are still rare. Nevertheless, reports from China, United Kingdom, United States, as well as many other nations indicate a rise in incidents of gender-based violence since after the emergence of COVID-19. In February 2020, the number of cases reported to the police in Jingzhou, in the city Hubei province throughout the hotspot within the COVID-19 pandemic, continuously increased compared within the previous year. Domestic violence increased by 10 to 27% in the United States during the COVID-19 epidemic. It is projected to have climbed to 40 to 50% in Brazil, 30% in France, and 18% in Spain. Domestic violence has also grown in Italy, Canada, Germany, and the United Kingdom. The rising number of complaints of domestic abuse is projected to expand during the COVID-19, albeit most of them will remain isolated for fear of being revealed. The series of reports of violence in most of those nations show that domestic violence rose during the COVID-19 epidemic. According to a latest UNFPA report, about every 3 months of lockdown, an extra 15 million incidences of gender-based violence are projected. 13 million women would lack access to the necessary contraception techniques, and there will be around 325,000 unintended births. This data clearly shows that violence against women occurs often since their movement is restricted due to the lockdown. Due to the increasing prevalence of domestic violence, failing to address this issue in the future would result in numerous psychological reactions among women in society. While all these issues are now within control of the state and are receiving less attention, it is critical that the governments deal with the issue of increased violence against women during the COVID-19 pandemic. In essence, COVID-19 has undeniably adversely affected gender inequality by increasing the number of domestic violence cases.
Last but not least, COVID-19 has worsened gender inequality because it has gender segregation in occupations. From time immemorial, Gender segregation in this occupation has been a major topic among the community in Malaysia. In Malaysia, discrimination in these occupations occurs when workers of different genders are paid higher income even though they have the same level of education. The segregation in employment between female workers and male workers is seen to be increasingly widespread. According to Whedon, 2016, women are more likely than men to be employed in lower paying, precarious and part-time jobs. This is because there is a practice of discrimination by employers against women workers by giving low wage rates. Many studies have found that male workers are paid higher wages than female workers, even though they have the same level of education and skills. In the context of the pandemic plaguing the country, this segregation of employment can be seen more clearly. This is because gender differences in participation rates in the service industry will lead to the occurrence of gender gap. It can be seen that women are more likely to dominate an essential work that is at risk for COVID-19 infection and work-related emotional stress than men. The dominance of women as important workers like teachers has put them at greater risk for experiencing stress, fatigue, and impaired mental health. Besides, when paired with higher female rates of unemployment and more family responsibilities, it is expected that women experience more emotional stress than men. The psychological obstacles of COVID-19 are likely contributing to reduced productivity and impaired performance for employees who remain in the workforce, particularly important personnel, which can limit possibilities for future salary rises and development. A major issue in gender segregation jobs is that salaries that positions offered to men are higher than those of women. Since the economic downturn of COVID-19, many of these women dominate service sectors such as restaurant, education, hospitality, and travel have reduced employee wages and the number of workers. Because women comprise the majority of workers in these sectors, they are mostly affected by losing a job. In Malaysia, the issue of discrimination between the sexes has existed for a long time. Women are still considered as someone who has to manage the household. As such, local companies underestimate the result of their work and the ability to handle things. In the corporate sector, women are said to be unsuitable to hold positions in the management division. This is because female workers are seen to have to spend more of their time managing family matters compared to their male counterparts. They are also punished on the assumptions that when they have a large number of children, they will be less dedicated to their job. As such, their salaries are lower than those of the male counterparts. Therefore, it can be seen clearly that this pandemic will further increase the income gap between men and women and eventually lead to job losses. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
To summarize, COVID-19 has the potential to increase gender inequality by burdening women with unpaid care, increasing the frequency of domestic violence cases, and affecting occupational gender segregation. Gender inequality is significantly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. During the outbreak, women are heavily impacted in social, economic, physiological, and emotional dimensions. As a result, there is gender disparity. Prejudices based on culture are ingrained in both men and women, and they may explain gender inequality and the resulting salary disparity. Women have long been considered as nurturing and compassionate and are assigned to vocations that demand such qualities. Since these talents are culturally valued, they have traditionally been linked with domesticity, hence employment requiring these skills are not monetarily rewarded. Men have always been seen as breadwinners or laborers. Therefore, professions dominated by men have previously shown to be financially valuable, and male-dominated jobs continue to be economically valuable and provide higher pay. When people entertain the possibility of coronavirus continuing to spread to countries with significant populations and refugees and internally displaced households, or spread of diseases in countries with fewer ability to respond due to other ongoing crises, serious concerns about gender disparities arise. There are some suggestions and recommendations to guarantee that gender equality is at the heart of COVID-19 responses. First, in conjunction with its human rights commitments, call on the private sector to consider flexible working hours, paid leave, and work from home choices as much as feasible, taking into consideration the care possibilities that most women confront, encouragement to distribute caregiving duties by including them in educational establishments, public campaigns, and work-life balance, which helps them to balance work and family responsibilities.
Finally, I will share about the Islamic perspective on gender equality. There is an urgent need to make visible initiative for gender equality for women in Muslim context, so that their right to have right is not discounted. Islam asserts that all people should be treated equally irrespective of their creed, colour of skin, language, sexuality or ethnic heritage. Farid Beg Mirza 2018 state that Almighty Allah rules over the entire universe and all humans are His creations. Everyone is born and dies on the same basis. He will evaluate everyone on their merits and deeds. As you can see in this slide, Allah states that, O mankind, we have created you from one male and female, and made you into nation and the tribes that you may know one another. Surely the most honorable among you with Allah is the one who is the most righteous. Verily, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. Quran, Surah 49, verse 30. Men and women have the same religious and moral duties responsibilities. Their Lord will accept them and answer them. As we can see in this slide, Allah said, Never will I suffer to lose the word of any of you, be it male or female. You are members of one another. Quran Surah 3, verse 195.
That's all from our group. We appreciated your effort for lending your ears and your time on our presentation. Thank you and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.